The Faceoff Sports Network presents the Fantasy Football Faceoff. Get ready for fantasy, DFS, and betting talk to get you in the game. If you want to win, you have to tune in. With Anthony Servino, Matt McKay, and Steve D'Angelo. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Faceoff.
Welcome back, folks, to the FF Faceoff, part of the Faceoff Sports Network. We're going to be coming at you today, talking the latest NFL news. We're going to talk a little bit of fantasy football as well. Talk a little bit of betting, actually, for next year, if you could imagine that, for week one, since we know what that's going to be, at least the opener. So we're going to get to all that today. It's going to be a grand old time. My name is Michael Hopp. You can follow me on X at the FF Realist. Joining us, as always, Steve D'Angelo, who could be followed at Fantasy Savvy. Steve, how's about you?
Very good, Mike. Glad to have you back with us tonight. Yeah, man, we are getting into, as we go on, we are diving more and more into the football season as it is getting hotter and hotter. And we start this shit early. I mean, we're ready to go. We're ready to get into best ball. I mean, I'm probably going to really gear up maybe around Memorial Day once I get all these rookies on lock. Yep. But things constantly changing. We're getting the schedule released. So exciting stuff. Glad to be here with you, Anthony, and Pete as well.
Yeah, definitely a big part of that is the schedule, which I've talked to Anthony about off air. So we'll have that Wednesday, and then we'll get cracking. But, of course, the godfather of the FF Faceoff, the darling of the show, very handsome, Anthony Servino. He could be called the real NFL guru. Anthony, how's about you, sweetheart?
I'm doing fantastic. Some news to talk about, some player versus player debate that seems to be making a lot of people happy. So let's get into it.
All right. And then also joining us, of course, Pete Nova, who could be followed at Supernova38. That's 2 R's in Super. That's how super he really is, except the Mets are going to beat the Phillies tonight, so he's going to have to deal with that. But, Pete, how's it going, man?
It's going all right. Busy day in my day job, but here ready to talk some ball, drink a little beer, and maybe talk a little shit on the Mets. That'd be good. Maybe we could close out the show doing that.
It's very easy to talk shit about the Mets. That's a good thing about it. So there you go. But yeah, so I will say, anybody, if you want to comment on the show, you can feel free to go ahead. Pete, did you have anything else to plug or?
No, I think we're all good. I mean, right. I don't know if you want to grab this one chat here from William Stevenson. He just wanted to say what's up, guys. I just pulled it up. So
good old William Stevenson. What's up, man? Yeah. So just like William, if you want to comment on the show, definitely comment. We will definitely get you on there. We'll answer any questions that you may have, any comments. We'll have a good time with it as always. But we got the schedule release coming on Wednesday, and just like NFL free agency, we get a little bit trickling out here and there. That tends to be the theme. So we have found out that the schedule release 8 p.m. on Wednesday again, but we now know that it's going to be the opener. The Ravens are visiting the Chiefs in Kansas City. It's about 114 days away and change, but who's counting? And guys, I was interested in this. The line is already out on DraftKings, and I wanted to go around the room and ask if you'd actually bet this right now, and which would you bet, or both? KC's currently favored by 3, over under of 47.5. That's currently on DraftKings Sportsbook. Steve, would you jump in on that now?
I probably won't jump on it personally. 3 and 47.5. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to really dive into it if I place a bet, but I'd maybe would take the Ravens off the jump. Maybe a little bit of a Super Bowl. The ceremony, sometimes they get a little overly excited. Sometimes it works in their favor as well. But I'd probably lean the Ravens at this point and probably the over, even though that sounds kind of square for the over. But the Ravens, I think, would be a little bit different at least.
Yeah, I'd probably go the over, but the Chiefs, since Pat Mahomes has been the starter, have only lost one opener, that being against the Detroit Lions last year. But Pete, would you jump in on that bet at all, or would you wait a little bit?
I'd wait. I mean, if I was taking any action, I probably would take the under 46.5, just because defense, I mean, offense usually tends to start off a little slower. So I like taking the unders in the NFL for week 1 for most of the games, just because, like I said, offense tends to start out a little slower. You have new schemes, new coordinators, new players. So I don't think that the Lions Chiefs opener last year was high scoring either. To start out the season. So
actually, yeah, I mean, I would fact check it, but I think you're right. I think it was low scoring because I think the Chiefs struggled so much. You remember the receivers had so many drops.
Well, Kelsey them as well.
Yeah.
What are those opening lines again?
Right now, the as of earlier, actually, DraftKings had Chiefs favored by 3, over under a 47.5.
So Chiefs getting 3 at home.
Yep.
I'll slam the Chiefs with those points today.
Yeah.
You have
my heart says Ravens, my head says Chiefs.
Why Ravens?
The
offensive line was basically gutted.
Again, it's
their
my
defense
heart. I'm saying
lost
I'm
a
saying
lot of players.
There.
I'll say if you're looking at the Ravens side, you could say, all right, well, Rashee Rice could be suspended. Then you got Xavier Worthy. Yeah, but is he going to be ready week 1? I mean, we know how complicated Andy Reid's systems. Look at Rashee Rice last year. Took him to week 9 to get fully adapted into the system. So, they could come off a little bit. So maybe the under is a better bet. But I kind of like the Ravens. I don't know. It's hard to say right now. I mean, it could go either way. Who the hell really knows?
Again,
I mean, the spread pretty much makes it seem like they think it's pretty even, but it's because they're getting the home field advantage points.
So
and again, Anthony, before you, not before, because you already are. To stop you from getting so hot and bothered. My heart says Ravens. It doesn't actually mean I think it's going to happen. My head, if I sit down and say, let me actually think like an actual human, I do think the Chiefs pull it out.
I mean, Kelsey has historically dominated the Ravens, including this past year's playoffs. So, I mean, he's still there. I don't care what the rest of this wide receiver room looks like. They can't stop Kelsey. They couldn't stop him. And last year, McDonald's Ravens defense was one of the best in the NFL. And a lot of people, I remember being on Sirius XM on RotoWire saying, listen, I'm all in on these Kelsey props, and they're talking up this Ravens defense. I said, I will back the team. The quarterback and the tight end has dominated the Ravens for a long time, and I'm not going back off this. I think the Chiefs laying 3 is a gift.
Okay. So Anthony, so then since you're the most passionate about this, would you put in a bet now on that?
Yeah. At a sports book? Yes.
Yeah, because I'm saying because it's there. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I do see this line moving a little bit. I can see it closing at like 4.
Last 3 matchups all been pretty high scoring, 33-28, 34-20, and then the last game was 36-35. Chiefs won 2 out of 3. Baltimore won the last one back in 2021.
And I will just say before we get to another question that we have that I'm seeing here on YouTube, even though I am kind of offended by it, the more stuff we hear about Rashee Rice, the more I'm happily drafting Marquise Brown pretty much everywhere I go. I've got him in a bunch of best balls so far this year, and I've got another player that we'll talk about later. But yeah, we're getting asked by William Stevenson. He said, if we get to it, but we'll just get to it because why the hell not? He said he was offered a 2024 6th pick in the first round for my 2010 and 2025 first. I have this year's 101 and need a QB. Confident I'll pick up a 2025 first rounder in another trade, and it's dynasty, which we know. And then he went on to say, and fuck the Mets, which I don't appreciate. I appreciate that you love me, William, which you commented after. Damage is still done, though. I'm so upset, but I read your question. So he was offered a 2024 6th pick in the first round for his 10th pick in the second and a 2025 first rounder.
I'll hop in first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he says,
and he said 2 QB. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that. First, I would say no. future first round picks, you can always accumulate those in season. Guys are always going to make trades at the deadline. You can always acquire future firsts. We don't know what the draft class is going to be like next year. And at the 106, especially in a 2 quarterback, you're probably passing on one of the better quarterbacks. And if the second round pick at the 210 was higher in the second, maybe I'd entertain it. But I'd have to really feel confident that the team I'm trading with is probably not a contender to even entertain it. And I still just don't think it would be enough for me. So, I mean, because you're probably passing on a Dunze, Nabers, and Marvin Harrison are going to be gone. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams are gone. But then you're passing pretty much on J.J. McCarthy, Odunze, Bowers, and Xavier Worthy. I don't like the move, to be honest. For me,
he's specifying, which I think we already knew. He's keeping the 101, which he had.
Yeah,
but
I still wouldn't.
Still even with that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was even confusing. I still wouldn't. I don't know what you guys think. I'm not going to trade a sure thing when I know I have a high end first. I know Anthony doesn't love this class, so Anthony.
Anthony. Yeah, go ahead, Anthony. What do you got?
I don't love this class, and the fact that you'd be moving he's a late second, and a 2025 first to go to the 1.062 quarterback. There's a shot you can potentially get JJ McCarthy there.
Yeah,
right. So you can walk away out of this outside the first round. I don't really like much. Except taking some deep dart throws on Ray Davis and Bucky Irvin. There's not a lot here. I would probably make this move.
I completely read it wrong. I thought he was giving it up. So my bad, Anthony. Thanks for clarifying that.
All right, Steve. What about you?
He has the first pick in a rookie draft.
But he also, what he's trying to do is get the 106 he's being offered. So we would have the first pick and a 6th pick, and he'd be moving his 10th pick in the second round.
Yeah,
and
I actually read that
2025 first.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah, I read that.
I think you make that move.
Yeah, I don't mind it because you're going to get a top player there at the 6th spot. You get that quarterback with your first pick. What other quarterbacks do you have? I'm sure you got somebody. You get that first pick. You get a nice Caleb or Jaden, whichever way you want to go there. And then, at the 6th spot, it does drop off a little bit, but there is still some quality you are giving up for next year, but you could always rebound. So if there's a player that you really, really like and you really, really want and you really, really feel good about, and sometimes that happens, you go up and you move up and you get that 6th spot. So that's how I would base it on.
All right, there you go. So all 4 of us say we would do the deal. Now, on top of the NFL schedule release, at least the first game, that is, there was some news. Some players got paid. We'll get to an offensive player first, that being Jared Goff. Another deal done in Detroit. Detroit players keep getting money. Good for them. Jared Goff getting a 4-year, $212 million contract extension. $170 million of that is guaranteed. It is good to be a quarterback. Goff goes from, it was just from Sheffer, Goff goes from the number 1 overall pick to the highest paid line in franchise history. And I'll just say before I kick it, Steve, I'll go to you first. I'll just say, who would have thought when that trade happened, when Matthew Stafford was traded for Jared Goff, who would have thought that in a few years, Jared Goff would be the highest paid player in franchise history? So kudos to Goff. But Steve, what are your thoughts on this deal? I guess kind of expected, but what are your thoughts more so on the numbers?
Yeah, I mean that's the position. That's what you got to pay for the most important position in football. You got to pay up, and Goff. I had my doubts. At those last couple of seasons with the Rams, after he went to the Super Bowl, it looked like he was falling off a cliff. Stafford wins the Super Bowl with the Rams, but to Goff's credit, he went to Detroit. They put him in a nice situation. They protect him well. Ben Johnson's a nice offensive coordinator, but Goff, we've always known former number 1 pick coming out of Cal, very, very accurate thrower. You give him time, he picks you apart. So, something happens with that line down, he needs to be a little bit more mobile when pressure comes. Goff kind of falls apart, but overall, I think it's, pretty much deserving for what he's done there. I mean, he really, really has stepped up and performed. So it's hard to argue. And the quarterback position is so important. What are they going to do? Just move on from him and, start. So they can't do that. They got to pay him. They got to, that's just the way it is. Daniel Jones gets all this money. Kirk Cousins getting all this money after a freaking Achilles tear. So just the nature of the business. Maybe it's a little too much, maybe second highest overall quarterback in the league now. Is that what it is? So,
yeah.
But overall, I think it's deserving. I'll give Goff the credit. He kind of proved me wrong.
Yeah, Anthony. Also, Jared Goff, not too bad for fantasy, especially when you're waiting on the position. 10th best quarterback in 2022, 7th best last year. Now getting paid by Detroit. Anthony, what are your thoughts there?
No, I was always a Goff guy, if you remember. After this trade, most of Twitter was saying he's a placeholder, he's a bridge, talking up Hendon Hooker when they drafted him, and all Jared Goff does is keep winning, keep proving people wrong. Back-to-back years as a top 14 or better quarterback. Last year, quarterback 11 in fantasy points per game. And they retained the offensive coordinator. Who knows what we're going to see out of Jameson Williams. Finally, we think it's going to be a healthy offseason and no suspension. So this offense could potentially take another step forward. So I'm obviously in on Jared Goff, especially at his cost right now, ADP of 121.4 underdog. I'm willing to take a few shots. Obviously, if you're drafting Goff, you're pairing him with another quarterback, possibly like Kirk Cousins, if you can get him, or an Aaron Rodgers, who, all these guys right now are going as values past the 10th round.
Yep. Jared Goff, yet another brick in the wall that supports waiting on the quarterback position when you're drafting. Pete, what says you? All things Jared Goff in Detroit now getting paid. How you feeling?
I love the deal. I think the first thing that came to my head was the whole narrative of the rookie contract thing for quarterbacks, right? And how we've been it's been shoved down our throats that it's so important that you can't win. Your window closes when if you don't win in that rookie quarterback window. But Goff and them got pretty close last year to the Super Bowl, and I have no issue paying him. The teams that have actually won the Super Bowl, I can't think of a single quarterback on a rookie deal unless somebody can. Right. Mahomes. Okay. So the greatest quarterback, one of their best ever, and he's still winning on his next deal. Right. So I think that we can kind of debunk that. But I also I like Jared Goff. I mean, he led the league in passing yards last year. And I mean, the thing with him is his average depth of target was 23rd, but the guy right underneath him is Patrick Mahomes. A lot of teams are playing too high shells, and the better quarterbacks in the league are taking what the defenses are giving them. That's why Mahomes has been so successful, and that's why Goff led the league in passing yards last year at 5,400. So I like the deal for Goff. I'm actually curious, do you guys feel like this affects Tua and his contract with the Dolphins? Because I mean, you got to think he's up for a payday. Are they going to pay him now at $50 million a year? Because I mean, at this point, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 guys at 50 million or more a year, and I mean, are they going to pay him? Does that affect their negotiation?
My honest opinion. Go ahead, Anthony.
No, go ahead. Anyone else goes on the contract, if Goff is getting 50, he's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to multiple title games. Yep. This is not good for Dak Prescott.
Oh, no.
If anything, this is good for Jerry Jones and his negotiating with Dak. Because how do you, if you're Dak's agent, going to Jerry Jones, like, hey, we want 60. And I'm looking at Jared Goff and like, all right, he's never won one, but he's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to a couple NFC title games. Where has Dak been?
I think we can also, but I think we can guarantee that Dak will probably still be sitting around 50 by the time he gets extended. Maybe not 60, like there were conversations. Yeah, he's not going to get 60, but he'll get 50 just because, I mean, you're either resetting the market or most guys are getting paid if you're Dak's a top quarterback, in my opinion.
And maybe this is why Jerry waited.
Could have been.
Yeah. Could have been. I mean, some of these quarterbacks slip through the cracks and don't reset the market or don't whatever. And I think Tua is gonna be that guy. I like Tua. I don't mind Tua. I think he's good. Do I think he's gonna be like? Do I think we hear a lot about you remember Jimmy Garoppolo just became the highest paid quarterback in football? Like, I don't think Tua is gonna get there. I don't think Jimmy should have gotten there. I don't think Tua gets there. I'd like to see what he does with a little more work. But Steve, what are your thoughts there on a and you can include Dak in there if you have an opinion on that. But Tua, looking at this contract Goff got, where do those kind of contracts stand?
I think it's going to constantly change. I mean, look at just the inflation. I mean, like the dollar, it's just like everything's so much more expensive. These contracts are just out of control. I mean, you look at back in the day, freaking Mickey Mantle, what did he make? Jack shit. It's
$9.
Like now these guys are making so much money. So I think it's good for guys
more than he was making.
Here's I bet you Mickey Mantle's baseball card is worth more than possibly his combined career earnings in baseball.
I wouldn't even be close.
I think that one card is worth like 51 million or something, or 120 million or something.
He probably made like 900,000 in his career, if that.
Yeah. So it's just this is good news for the younger quarterbacks in the league, like CJ Stroud. I mean, pretty soon Goff's going to get passed up, and we'll see what Tua gets. I mean, Tua has his own questions. Do I want to throw as much money to Tua as I did to Goff? Maybe not. Like Anthony said, Goff is in a better situation too. I mean, Tua's in a great situation too, but the offensive line for Goff, I think, really just helps him in the system. But one thing about Goff though is, like I said, he's very accurate. You give him time, he picks you apart. But I think a lot of these guys will surpass him eventually. And also, last thing on Goff, I just noticed he has the same birthday as me, October 14th.
So
there you go.
The problem here with Goff, home and away splits are obviously not great. His splits, completion percentage versus man, 5th best versus zone, 18th best. He has some holes, but most of his efficiency metrics are outstanding. When you go to Tua and paying Tua, you got to worry about when is that next concussion coming. I do think that should be in the back of everybody's mind.
Unfortunately, yes.
And another thing about Tua needs a lot of help, and a lot of quarterbacks need a lot of help. But Tua, I mean, we saw what he was before Tyreek Hill. We saw what he was after Tyreek Hill. Last year in that Titans game, when Tyreek Hill got hurt, and he came back and he wasn't 100%. This offense was not the same. Yep. So who is Tua really? Because are we paying Tua for the years? If you want to pay him for as long as we know Tyreek Hill's going to be in the league, that's fine. I'm not paying him for years after Tyreek Hill leaves.
I'll tell you
so
what.
I think he's just because Tua comes from Alabama. He was always with world-class talent. I don't think Tua's that good without world-class talent.
I'll tell you, a quarterback getting paid soon, Mr. Brock Purdy. That boy's getting paid.
Look how that worked out for Jimmy.
Dropping that bomb on you boys. You go enjoy that.
Anthony, all these quarterbacks get paid. Look at freaking, what was that? Yeah. 7 years ago, Brock Osweiler. Didn't he get like $35 million?
Geez, Brock Osweiler.
And Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon.
I knew, it's like they're going to get paid. These fucking guys are going to get paid.
Hey, I'm happy the Texans outbid Denver for Osweiler, but then again, I don't think we've had a good fucking quarterback since then, so it really doesn't really even matter.
Yeah, keep the faith, I guess. But actually, just out of curiosity, because we don't have a ton to discuss today, so I'm actually just curious because I pulled up these odds because we were talking about Jared Goff, we were talking about the Lions, so I pulled up the conference winners, on DraftKings, the odds on it, and just the top 4. We don't have to spend forever on it. Steve, I'll go to you first. You just give me a pick. We got top 4: 49ers plus 250, Lions plus 550. Eagles plus 700 and the Cowboys plus 700. If you had to place a bet right now, Steve, where are you going with that? I know this isn't me being a Niner homer. It was just me. It was me saying that.
Now do NL baseball.
Oh God, the Mets are dead. That's not happening. That's not happening. No, I was saying, say I wanted to make some money on it. I would consider betting the Lions. if I wanted to make some money on it,
I'd be putting money on the Eagles, honestly, just at the value at plus 700.
The Eagles, I think Sirianni. I mean, he should have got fired. That's what I thought, but we'll see how he responds this year. He could shut up the haters. They were just a dumpster fire going to the damn playoffs last year, just dropping game after game after game. So we'll see how they respond this year. He lost those 2 coaches. I think that affected him a lot. So there's no way I'm betting on the Eagles. Cowboys, I just can't do it. They just don't perform in the playoffs.
Nope.
The Lions, I think it's good value, plus 600. Or, I think that's what I see the best here at FanDuel. Niners is still rock solid. They should be the favorites, but I'm looking at the Packers plus 900. I like that one. I like what the Packers did.
They're plus 900 on FanDuel.
They're plus 900 on. Well, they're 850 on FanDuel and DraftKings, but 900 on other spots.
What are the Rams? What are the Rams at?
The Rams, another good one.
That's where
plus 1600.
Yeah,
1600 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
I'd put money on the Rams over the Eagles if I was gonna, and over the Cowboys if I was gonna put money down.
You remember when you played Sonic 2 and you needed Tails to help you out sometimes?
Yeah,
because you'd be screwed otherwise.
My kids love
that's
Sonic.
Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni is Sonic, and he needs those coordinators who are Tails.
He needs an adult. He needs an adult in the room. He needs an adult in the room. That's really what he needs.
Adult in the room.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm with Pete on the Rams at plus 1,400. That's the best value on the board.
Yeah.
I obviously Detroit plus 600 is fine, but Philly, I think I like where Steve's going here. Everybody has a bad taste in their mouth because of Nick Sirianni losing the locker room. Their coordinators were not good last year. They come back this year with who? Fangio? We know Fangio can do a lot. And Kellen Moore, who I think is a lot better than what he showed with the Chargers. So that helped. The tails that you're saying for Nick Sirianni, to Sonic and Tails, the tails are now in Philly.
But is Kellen Moore good though? Because everybody said McCarthy. Good. Everybody said McCarthy was going to get worse without him, and their offense got better.
Right, Steve's got a point.
And then he went to the Chargers, and their offense.
Why can't they both be good? Because Kellen Moore went to a Chargers team.
Can be good, but
they were hurt. That offensive line was hurt. His whole receiving room was dead. Early in the year, when Allen and Mike Williams were healthy, they were throwing. They were playing well. Now you go to Philly with those receivers. They got the tight end, and because Kellen Moore, his offense needs a tight end. They didn't have that. They had Gerald Everett and a bunch of guys with the Chargers. You got Dallas Goedert, who was one of the better. He's a 10th round value in fantasy right now. Look what Dalton Schultz did in his years with Kellen Moore. I'm actually loving this Philly offense. The only thing that worries me is Saquon Barkley as a pass catcher in the Kellen Moore offense.
Yeah, and I agree much, but they definitely improve, especially with Fangio. But then you got another new offense for Hurts to learn. So
he's had a new OC every fucking
year.
That's not a good thing.
The loss of Jason Kelsey is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that offensive line unfolds too.
What didn't work for Jalen Hurts last year?
Their offense was that inconsistent down the stretch. I mean, their defense was terrible too. But
Hurts was hurt. To be
fair, offense was screwed. The moment they played the Niners, that offense was never.
Are we talking fantasy or real football? Because in fantasy, Jalen Hurts was still the quarterback too in fantasy points.
I'm talking about real
football. He's talking about real football right now. Because right now we're talking about betting odds for the conference.
Just calm down, Anthony.
Fantasy is a different story. You get those freaking pushes. But even Kelsey's gone. So even for fantasy, there's some questions.
I will say, obviously, people know on this show that I'm a Niner fan. But I wouldn't place a bet on the Niners because they're plus 250. There's no money to be made there. I like the Lions at plus 550. While I can't stomach betting the Rams because they're in the division, I do love that bet. I'm surprised here, though. The last thing I'll say on this is the Falcons are plus 1,100 on DraftKings. So the Falcons they think the Falcons have a better shot to get to the Super Bowl than the Rams.
1,400 on Caesars, so
which I think
they should put the bottle down because
I think it's a little interesting. No,
they should put the bottle down. I mean, and Zach Linton's in here. I just pulled it up. I said, "Good evening, what's up, Zach? Thanks for jumping in."
Zach?
We did talk Jared Goff. I know he said Jared Goff, baby. Excited to see him get paid. Listen, I think the hype train around the Falcons is a little out of control at this point. I don't know. I mean, that defense.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, but they have Cousins, right? They brought in Darnell Mooney, who Anthony loves. They've got those weapons, but I'm just still not super high on them. I mean, do they even win that division? I know people. I mean, do you think they win that division over the Bucks? I mean, you have the
think they
Saints and
can.
Carolina. They definitely can. I'd still have my money.
Yeah,
I'd still put my money down on the Bucks to win that division. To be honest, with you.
And then I wouldn't argue with you about it. And I think that's the point you're getting at, is that they're not a clear and away favorite. No,
but at the value, I mean, that's what you're looking for, right? So I guess at plus 1,400, if you like burning money, I mean, it's worth putting money on.
Is if Kirk Cousins is not their quarterback and they bring in Raheem Morris instead of Bill Belichick, those odds are not what they are. Those odds are in the shitter. But whatever. So whatever. I had some fun with that. Do we have anything else to say about the odds? Anthony, you want to yell at anybody else? You
no,
good?
We're good.
You got something else? No? You all right?
Actually, I am looking at
we get
we can have fun with this for another show.
Sure.
There's quarterback odds for week 1. There's also team special. I'm looking at FanDuel. The Falcons to score at least 1 touchdown in every regular season game is plus money, plus 100. That I feel like that's a lot.
Well,
maybe we found something to talk about on Wednesday.
That's a lock.
I mean, did they score a touchdown in every game last year? Probably. They might have scored. No, I'm saying they might have even scored a touchdown in every game last year, and that was
talking about Falcons. I'm sorry.
I don't think they did.
Yeah.
Does it have to be a couple young ho cool games?
Does it have to be an offensive touchdown though? Or can it be defense? Does it have to be an offensive touchdown?
A touchdown. A touchdown.
Young ho don't score touchdowns.
Honestly, if it's a touchdown, then I'd probably put the money on it too. Because I'll tell you one thing. This new kickoff rules, there's going to be a lot of touchdowns from that new kickoff rule too.
That's a good point.
So scoring's going to be up, that's for sure. So maybe I want to rethink that under for the first week 1 matchup with the Chiefs. But I digress.
The Falcons to score 1 rushing touchdown in every game is plus 16,000. That's worth a sprinkle.
1,600 or 16,000?
16,000. So a $5 bet would pay back $800.
Yeah, I'd put money on that. That's for sure.
Sure, I would dabble. Listen, I think we found something to do for a future show. I think we found a way to fill up an hour in a effing heartbeat.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said effing a fucking heartbeat, but whatever.
How about we start filling out this show?
We're filling out the show, aren't we? We're having fun here. I'm sorry. Let's get to other things. We can talk about Antoine Winfield, another player who got paid. Antoine Winfield gets himself a 4-year, $84.1 million deal. $45 million is guaranteed. Anthony thinks that's funny for some reason, or maybe he thinks it's funny because he's busting our balls, but he is the highest paid DB in NFL history.
Wow.
Pete, I'll go to you. Because I think you put together, I think you have some stats from last year or what have you on Antoine. But what are your thoughts there? Highest paid DB in NFL history.
I like Antoine Winfield, but it is a little bit. It's a steep price, but at the end of the day, the salary cap went up like $20 million this year. So I mean, like you can pretty much just say that paid for his contract every year, and with inflation and the way the salary cap goes up every single year, a lot of these contracts don't look that bad. It's really about the guaranteed money. I think I don't know, Hoff, you might know, but I think half of it's pretty much guaranteed. So
45 guaranteed,
okay, yeah, so a little more than half, but yeah, Justin Simmons got paid a couple years ago. Diggs got paid. Like a lot of these safeties got paid, which a lot of credit goes to Vic Fangio for some of the safeties because the way the too high shell worked and all these teams wanted to mirror it because the Broncos and just in general, Vic Fangio, like it just gave the Chiefs offense a little bit of trouble in my opinion. But I just, it's not a premium position to be throwing a lot of money at. So I don't necessarily love it. I love the player. I mean, Winfield, 3 interceptions, 2 touchdowns on defense and 8 pass breakups. He was rated 10th best among safeties in pass coverage. It's a defense that needs help. They were ranked 19th in coverage last year with him and 23rd ranked total defense. So they couldn't obviously let him walk. It's an expensive number for safety, and I'm just not really in the market to be paying them unless you're a contender and it's like a missing piece like the Eagles or even the 49ers, right? I mean, I know they have Hufanga, but just one of these teams that are contenders. I don't know if the Bucs are there yet, and they have a lot of needs to be paying premium money to a not premium position. So that's kind of my stance on it.
I'm fine paying them, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, Anthony, you're fine. All right. Well,
I didn't realize he was only 5. I didn't realize he was only 5'9". Reminds me of Bob Sanders, only 5'8". Bob Sanders was a really good
Sanders.
Yeah, Bob Sanders was good. But yeah, I mean, Winfield got snubbed from the Pro Bowl. I know that a lot of people were pissed about that, including Aaron, who editor of the site.
But he made first team All Pro, which shows the NFL fucking Pro Bowl is full of shit.
Yeah, it is full of shit. You're right. It is complete jack shit. I agree. But yeah, good player, and you want to, bring back some of these guys. Yeah. So I think they lost Devin White, right? Am I right on that?
Yes. I think he went to Philly.
Yeah, so they got they have a pretty good secondary there. They want to keep that intact. Winfield's kind of the centerpiece of that. So yeah, I mean, it's a little too much money, but again, everything's going up.
Yeah,
salary cap increasing, so I think it's fine.
Salary cap is crap.
That's salary crap cap.
Yes, these players getting paid. Yeah. Anthony, just as long as you're heavy on the get off my lawn attitude today, we are getting asked. We are getting asked in the chat by Garrett Neese, which I told him we would get.
He doesn't even mow his lawn. He's telling people to get off.
It's true. He doesn't even.
I did on Saturday, actually.
Oh, nice.
No,
it got to the point. My fucking Pomeranian was hopping. It was so long. I'm like, all right, I gotta finally mow it.
You can't see him when he.
Pomeranian thought he was a freaking cheetah in the jungle.
That's all. Yeah.
So we are getting asked. Peeing in the street. All right, so we got dogs peeing in the street, and we got Garrett asking Browns, Cowboys, who we all got. Anthony, I had to start with you on that one. Anthony, you brought this up before we started recording. So your thoughts there, Browns, Cowboys? Which is what? Start. Is it? Yeah, you. I mean,
I don't know if it's confirmed. Is it?
That's.
I don't know if it's
confirmed. That is going to be Brady's first call in Week 1.
Okay.
It's Brady's first call in Week 1. Okay. So it's happening, pretty much. Yeah. So,
Anthony, I'm obviously
number 8, 4:25 p.m.
I think it's going to be a closer game. But I'm a little bit worried about Dallas. There's a lot of question marks, a lot of contract stuff going on. But normally, Dak plays his best football when it matters least. So I probably back Dallas here.
Oh, jeez. Well, yeah.
It's not true. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm being real. But September Dak is a fucking All-Pro Hall of Famer.
I was going to say, and then I'll kick it to Pete, but even to that point, like how you say there's all these question marks with the Cowboys still always do find a way to produce during the regular season. They find a way to get it done at certain times. It's when it gets later in the years when they start to, step in their own shit. But Pete, what says you there? Browns, Cowboys, Tom Brady behind the mic there. What says you?
Sorry, I actually just got a dynasty offer, and someone sent me. Yeah, I just accepted. I didn't even think about it. So that's how impulsive I am.
Or maybe it's the beer. But, yeah.
Well, it could be the beer. They sent me. They wanted Jonathan Taylor, and they gave me ETN and a first rounder next year. I accepted. I accepted it. I like Jonathan Taylor. I like ETN to get an extra first thrown on top of that. When they're pretty close in value for me, I don't hate it.
I'd rather have JT, but the pick kind of sways me.
Yeah, I think that's, and I don't have a first next year.
How is the class supposed to be next year, Pete? Any idea?
I mean, I heard running backs actually supposed to be really good coming out next year, which can't be much worse than this year. So
yeah.
But as for the Browns Cowboys take, sorry to kind of derail there.
Yes, we're very upset with you.
I know. Let me get to it. But for the Browns Cowboys, is it home? Who's home? Do we know who's home?
Browns.
Oh, Browns are gonna be. Oh, Browns are home. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Okay. So I mean, yeah. For me, it depends if Nick Chubb's going to be playing Week 1. If Nick Chubb isn't, which I assume he's not, I'm probably taking the Cowboys, who are probably going to be underdogs on the road. I'll take them at plus money. If they're gonna be underdogs on the road, if there's no Nick Chubb, because I mean I like that backfield, but we have still yet to see that offense mesh well with Deshaun Watson. I still think it's going to take some time. And there's, like Anthony said, in big games, unless Dak feels like it's a big game because Brady's calling it, maybe makes him shit his pants a little bit. But I'd still go with the Cowboys at plus money, most likely on the road.
Steve, what about you, man?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to fade Deshaun Watson early in the season, and I'm going to take the Cowboys here week 1. Probably catch a couple points, maybe 1-2 points, something like that.
Yeah, I would take Cowboys too, like, because I don't know, kind of like what they're kind of intimating here. I don't have a ton of faith in Deshaun Watson. I do have faith.
Yeah, we need to see it. We need to see it. We haven't really seen it from him. I mean,
not a great defense for Zeke to start off. Like, he might average 1 yard per carry.
But do we expect this to be a good rushing offense to begin with anyway?
No, which we'll get to shortly. Let's
bring out Rico and Deuce Vaughn. Maybe Deuce Vaughn up the sleeve. We'll see.
Greg McEwen, though,
over a steering wheel.
He said he's loving the show, guys. Sometimes it's nice to just hear about football rather than fantasy football takes. Love it, which we like to. We take pride in being a bit of both. So there you go. So you're welcome. He also said something pissed off Anthony today, and it's making for great viewing. Anthony, you are very cranky.
I'm actually in a good mood today.
Deuce may take a deuce on the Browns.
And he also said, do you guys think Cowboys just throw a load this year with such bad RBs? Which, you know what? We were going to do Broncos, but let's just do Cowboys since that's the discussion. We're talking about that. We'll get to that first. It was reported by Mike McCarthy, or talked about by Mike McCarthy, I should say. They're kind of going to go with a running back by committee approach in 2024. So we'll talk NFL, but we'll integrate a little bit of fantasy football in here. And I'm going to kind of pitch to you guys and say, Anthony, again, since you're the Cowboy guy, I'll go to you first. Which is the running back in fantasy that you would want to own? You can include that if you've been doing best ball drafts or redraft, whatever the hell you want. Who's the running back to own?
It's obviously Ezekiel Elliott because he's the only one that we've actually seen perform in the NFL. Rico was nice in small spurts last year, but they brought Zeke in because the biggest issue this offense had was converting third downs and converting in the red zone. And, this isn't Zeke from 5 years ago. We're not expecting that, but he is still one of the best short yard. I mean, Zeke short yardage, I'll put my money on him with an upgraded offensive line from New England, which he's going to get in Dallas over most guys. Like, to put things in perspective of how bad Dallas could not convert in the red zone with their backfield. Tony Pollard had the second most red zone touches of any running back. He had 72, including 9 goal line carries, and he accounted for 6 touchdowns. Imagine having you give Zeke the second most red zone touches, he's getting 12 again.
And how many times did we say last year, what if the Cowboys had Zeke right now?
I mean,
just like you and me texting back and forth.
In literally the worst offense in the NFL. And I'm with you. We did. And I've said it all year long. Zeke on the worst offense in the NFL in New England had 5 touchdowns. Pollard on one of the best had 6.
Oh, to push back just ever so slightly. I mean, there weren't very many other options in New England. I mean, when Zeke is the best offensive option, no shade to Ramondre Stevenson. I actually really like him, but I mean, to be fair, he will be fighting for more looks.
But they gave Tony Pollard the second most red zone touches of a running back. It's not it's not like he had 40 and they were distributing it to everybody else. They literally gave it to him 72 times in the money zone. And he got 6 fucking scores.
I'm gonna go get a beer. You guys talk.
Wasn't there conversations or issues that a lot of fans had with Zeke's performance in the red zone the year Pollard left too, though?
All I know is that Zeke scored 12 touchdowns that year.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember what it was in the red zone, but I could be wrong. I'd have to look that up.
Zeke had 40 red zone touches, including 13 goal line carries in 2022, and he scored 12.
So he scored 12 times out of how many touches?
Out of 40 red zone touches.
It's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
I played a guy in Madden last night, and this is like 2026 now, and Zeke was actually still tearing me up a little bit. 28 years old now in our present day. It's just crazy to see, like, the Cowboys gave Zeke this big contract and they let him go. Then they just basically said, we're not drafting anybody. We're just going to run with Rico and Zeke. And like, you look at the free agents that are still left, there's a bunch of trash. Like, I don't think there's anybody really, maybe Kareem Hunt.
Leonard Fournette.
Possible.
Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. And Fournette he didn't do
not
shit.
a lot. There's not a lot out there.
Kareem Hunt, maybe. I mean, he didn't look terrible at times last year.
He was a goal line guy pretty much. For
and he can still catch passes, so he's relatively young too. So that's possible. But, I think it's going to be Rico and Zeke and maybe a little bit of Deuce Vaughn. We'll see. But, maybe they got another. Do they have another undrafted free agent they're going to bring in? Maybe
they also signed Royce Freeman.
Royce Freeman.
I'm not saying he's relevant. I'm just mentioning that he's on the roster.
Yeah, he's horrible. So that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe Kareem Hunt would be a decent signing for them. I think it would actually make sense for them. Maybe one more guy.
At least if they're going to do a running back by committee, I don't know if
he's probably the best guy. He's probably the best guy left, Hunt, right? I mean,
sure.
Free agents. It's just very odd that they went all in on Zeke, and now they're just saying, well, running backs don't matter. We're just going to sling this puppy around all over the field.
I mean, Damian Harris is available. He retired. Cam Akers, Breida, Hunt, Lat Murray, McKinnon, Marlon Mack, Josh Kelly, Lynn Bowden, Eno Benjamin, Tariq Cohen, Deion Jackson.
Yeah. I'll
take Zeke over everybody.
Yeah. Sure. And I don't know if you guys mentioned this while I went to get a beer and then awkwardly slid into the show again. The one thing I didn't love with Zeke was that his yards per attempt dipped. They continue to dip. 4.2 in 2021, 3.8 in 2022, 3.5 last year. But the one thing that I did like a lot was in New England, which I didn't realize this. He did have 51 receptions last year, which was his most since 2020. And he had the highest catch percentage of his career since 2018.
That's because Mac Jizzle was dumped.
This is where Pete's point comes in, where they had nothing else.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. I'm saying I did like that. I saw those numbers. I liked it. So, Pete, then great minds think alike, I guess. So
that's right.
But
by the way, Zach Linton said leg day today, did a nice PR, 680 for 8. Going to be hurting tomorrow. Nice. Yeah. Good shit.
Zach,
I'm sure. Nice. Did you see Anthony's? I think he's commenting because he saw Anthony's picture of him at the gym this morning, and that might be why. Anthony, do you do leg day? Like, did you do
shots fired?
No, you did legs this morning, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. So he's doing legs twice a week, right? Is that what you said?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not doing legs twice a week, but I actually split hamstrings and quads up, so I will do hamstrings on a separate day.
But are you squatting? Are you squatting anymore or no?
Yeah.
You still squat? I don't squat heavy anymore.
I usually stay at
back when I ran track. I used to squat.
I don't go past 315 often. Leg press is I literally rack the leg press though.
Yeah, leg press is
easy. Squats. Yeah,
Zach, I'm gonna give you a couple. Let me give you a couple tips to help you out. This is why this bottle's empty, because I do so many leg days. But you take a little bit of whiskey, put it in your hands, you rub them together. You slap them on your quads, you rub them around.
I will leave that.
Epsom salt, you'd be good. So that's what I would recommend. So, and you're welcome in advance. There you go.
What's the point of that?
What? It's a fucking joke, Anthony. Jesus,
Anthony. The chat is
still standing on your lawn.
Loving. The chat's loving Anthony's legs. I don't know what's going on. William said he's got that leg pump. Justin Tech said had no idea Servino was the Hulk, and Greg said don't make him angry. So
Jesus,
yeah, really, jeez. Man.
Shit. What else do we got? Do we want to do one of these player versus players or?
Actually, yeah. Well, unless you want to do Broncos because you're the Broncos guy.
Yeah, we could say that for another day.
Let's say it for another day. Okay, so Pete, you can go ahead. I didn't go into that sheet. I'm sorry. So if you want to kick it out, player versus player.
Yeah, that's fine. So I had a couple. I want to pick the best ones that we have here, or at least the closest ones. I think this one's a good one. DeVonta Smith or T. Higgins. So both are kind of number twos on their teams. One's in a more run-centric offense. One's in a more pass-centric offense. The Bengals don't have that rushing game like they did with Mixon being gone. It's now Zach Moss. Who else they have? It's Chase Brown. So I guess I'll let you guys go first. I mean, who would you prefer? They're pretty close in ADP right now. Both number twos on their offense. Steve, I mean, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's very close. Two guys who are, like you said, number twos, and what we were taking in like kind of the second or third round last year in drafts, and that second round is always kind of weird when you're drafting. A lot of these guys can underperform. But I think it's very close because AJ Brown dominates so much, and Chase is going to dominate so much. But we know about Higgins; he was requesting trades. He wanted to get out of Cincinnati. How is that going to reflect as we go on through the year? Are they going to trade him halfway through, or is he just, does he want? He wants a long-term contract, obviously, but the Bengals obviously have to pay a lot of people. So I think it's very, very close. It looks like here in NFC, Smith is going around before in the fourth round. Higgins is going late fifth. So at that point, I probably would wait and just take Higgins.
Okay. Anthony?
I feel like I've had this debate on shows and internally, like where they were going. I think both were close to second round picks, and I faded them last year. And I think we're going to finally see the ADP settle where they should be, being true number twos on their own teams. Higgins is nice, but I think he comes with a little bit of overhype. He had that one big year. I get injuries and Burrow in and out. I'd rather go with DeVonta Smith, and I was never a big DeVonta Smith guy, but he is kind of more consistent, and I am buying into Kellen Moore on this offense, so I will lean DeVonta Smith over Higgins.
Yeah, okay. I think I'd slightly go DeVonta Smith too. Again, it's Pete. I mean, you put these together. They're close. They're close for a reason.
Sure.
I think I'd go DeVonta Smith. I do like the Kellen Moore aspect, and I hate to say this because I love Joe Burrow, but do we have a little bit of concern about Joe Burrow and durability?
You're buying into that report now? I see.
No.
I was going to say. I was just going to say that.
That's some bullshit.
Steve fucking beat me to it.
That's some bullshit. I'm just saying in general.
Starting to go to bed at night and think about it.
Yeah. Oh, God,
well, once he got blocked, he started. Once he got blocked,
God, I wish I'd asked him.
Maybe that was true.
Yeah, please.
No, you're right though. I'm just messing around.
You
are right. There is a little bit of concern.
It's a fair question to ask. I mean, granted, that back when he hurt his knee in his rookie year, that wasn't against Buffalo. That was, no other player could escape that. But I don't know. I think I'd go DeVonta Smith here. Could we live in a world where T. Higgins beats him out and then we lose? Of course, but that's why these guys are so close. I would draft DeVonta Smith here. That's where I would roll.
Yeah. I would lean Higgins. You're going to get a round discount for me. And Higgins isn't a contract year. I mean, there's a lot of talk. He's puffed his chest out all offseason, requested a trade twice now, and hasn't really gotten that extension, or I don't even think they've had conversations. Yeah. So I think I'll bet on the guy that's in a contract year. DeVonta Smith just got paid, and he's in a more pass-centric offense. I think Higgins has the more upside here, but I think DeVonta Smith is the safer play, just because we've seen DeVonta Smith play. I think he missed one game last year, but he's only missed one game in his 3 seasons of playing in the NFL. Higgins is always banged up. Yeah, Higgins is a headache. He's always leaving games early with the concussions and all that. But, in just 12 games last year, he had 973 air yards.
What about real yards?
Real yards, 656, 15.6 yards per reception, which is actually the highest of his career.
Christ.
If if both guys are healthy, I prefer Higgins for me. Just
2,000-yard seasons for Higgins. Never has had double-digit touchdowns, but I think we haven't seen the best season from either of these guys yet.
I just got a quick idea, Pete. Just before you go to your next player, on our next show, let's just do a podcast about air yards and wait how long it takes till Anthony walks off set.
It's fucking crazy too, because I think Anthony has brought up air yards a couple times to make his point.
When the fuck have I ever brought up air yards?
I think you talked about it with Garrett Wilson in the poop.
I'll bring it up, but that would be the basis of my conversation.
But I'm confused. So you bring it up like voluntarily, but why can't I bring it up?
I want to.
Everly.
I'm confused.
And also, when I brought up my air yards, Garrett Wilson had 1,700.
The point for Anthony is,
he had over a
bullshit stat.
This is going to be going all year long.
Real yards.
Yes, it will.
And who are those quarterbacks? You're arguing.
We'll see you tomorrow.
We're not going back to
he has Joe Burrow, and he
can't do it.
Listen,
I'll take. Who's the better quarterback? Let me ask you. Who's the better quarterback? Who's the better quarterback? Who's the better quarterback? Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow?
Burrow.
All I know, if you want to talk about Garrett Wilson, he had 11.
Going back to Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson has had 1,000-yard seasons with Zach Wilson. Higgins has not had more than 1,000-yard season with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but you said hasn't had more. He has
cases there. That's
his best year was 1,091 with Joe Burrow.
All right, so two out of the 4 seasons, he's had 1,000-yard seasons, and he was tracking to have 1,000 yards last year. He had the most yards per reception last year. He just missed a bunch of games.
Garrett Wilson had 1,196 with Zach Wilson.
Wait, listen, Pete.
Zach Wilson about to roll shit in Denver.
Pete, I just want to interject here.
Yeah,
I just want to interject. I want to say something.
Up air yards.
Yeah, I want to interject here and it's also being mentioned that Zach Linton saying, I remember back in the day when Hop, and he's probably saying me and you used to go at it, Anthony. I'm going to tell you something he's doing right now, Pete. You mentioned the air yards. Anthony got a little skittish, and he decided to attack you with other stats. He's trying to make you forget about the fact that he mentioned air yards.
I don't even remember the air yards. It is not like me to mention air yards.
Put some whiskey on your thighs. And
Anthony says hold on, listen. Anthony says he doesn't remember the conversation of air yards, but he somehow remembered Garrett Wilson's air yards.
No, it's called pulling it up.
No shot.
Right. No, that's the point. That's
no shot.
You had it too quick.
Of course I did. This is what I've been doing this a long time.
If it helps prove Anthony's point, he will mention air yards and he'll talk about air yards. If it doesn't prove his point, he's going to say, why are we talking about air yards? What the hell is this nonsense?
Listen, like Matthew Berry said, you can use any statistic to prove a narrative.
He waves his hand. And Anthony's about to hit the end record button.
William Stevenson said Anthony's thighs are swelling. So.
Yeah, they are. He's very upset.
He said Anthony's glutes grow from the hatred of fake stats. Oh shit!
It's impossible for Anthony to drive at this point. He's just got to take an Uber everywhere. Good times.
Is that it? We do one more, or are we done?
No, we do one more.
Let's go one more.
We do one more. Just like
this one. This one, I already know who Anthony's going to go with on this one, but I felt like this would be a going to pick Malik Nabers and DK Metcalf. So kind of this is interesting. So Hoff, Steve, I don't know. I think we should let Anthony go last.
Steve, you go first,
he's gonna get fired up on this one too.
I'm trying to look at their ADPs here. If you guys know, obviously DK
Neighbors 18, Metcalf 22. Did I look that up too fast?
No, you were.
All right. I'll say really quick. I think I would go DK Metcalf here. I am. The big thing for me is I'm skeptical.
You're going in the fifth. They're both going. Oh no, DK's going in the fourth. Neighbors going to the fifth. Go ahead.
I don't. Here's the deal. Much like a lot of these player comparisons, some that we're not getting to because we had that good of a show, which is why you should subscribe on YouTube and feel free to like the show. I think the reason why you're putting these together, Pete, is that these guys are close.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's really a wrong answer. I think there's debatable points. But I think I would go Metcalf because even though, and I'll say this, Geno Smith is not the epitome of being a stable quarterback. I just think I'd rather go that route than go the other way and not being sure about the quarterback position. Because I do think that, listen, are there wide receivers that can go against the grain, be successful with a quarterback who's not as great or in bad conditions? Sure, of course, we've seen it before. But I would rather, especially if I'm getting him at a better cost, I think I'd go DK Metcalf there. That would be my answer.
I'm with you there, Mike. Nabers could be really damn good in this league. That is for sure.
Yeah,
He's
can be,
ultra talented. There are some questions about Daniel Jones. He looked absolutely terrible last year. And I had high hopes for him coming off the year before where he's pretty efficient and just fell off a complete cliff. So, yeah, I think I got to go Metcalf with Geno. We've seen Geno have a couple nice seasons now, rebound. So, yeah, I think even though I think Nabers might be going a little too high, 5th round. I mean, he's going same round as Cooper, same round as Higgins, same round as Zay Flowers. Yeah. But maybe it makes sense.
I'm cool with that.
Maybe a round later, maybe the 6th, I feel a little bit better. But it's close. I mean, Nabers, he's definitely could be a supreme talent in this league. But yeah, I prefer Metcalf.
Okay. Anthony, do you want to go or you want me?
It's actually close between the two. I do see somewhat of a changing of the guard in Seattle. Lockett being clearly overtaken by JSN. Metcalf, he's a guy to me. He had that one big year, hasn't really lived up to anything since. I get Geno fell off a little bit last year. I like the new OC, comes from Washington. They're going to throw the hell out of the football. This is no longer Pete Carroll, and just pound the ground. So there is going to be some opportunity there for DK Metcalf. Then you have Nabers and zero competition for targets. Who are the targets coming from? Daniel Jones, Drew Lock. And I brought this up, and this is going to bring me back to Garrett Wilson and the fact that Garrett Wilson has had 160 and I think 148 targets in his first 2 seasons. Yet I don't think he's cracked the top 30 in fantasy points per game because the quality of those targets were subpar. And that's my issue here with Malik Nabers. Yeah, he can get 160 targets, but it doesn't guarantee he's going to finish anywhere wide receiver 24 or better. And you're paying a wide receiver 18 ADP. I think I'd rather just go DK Metcalf for that reason. Yeah. Dynasty-wise, obviously, you take a shot on Nabers, assuming
of course.
The Giants
look
get
at the size. Look at the size difference too. Nabers 6 foot 201, DK 6'4", 235.
Yeah, well,
still 26 years old. I think it's just around earlier is not a bigger price, that much of a price to pay. So yeah, I think it's safer. It's much more secure. But there's going to be people who love Nabers and they're just going to go after him at all costs.
You know what? I think I felt like I was going to go Metcalf, but I want to say this. It depends what league you're drafting in. If you're doing underdog tournament style, you're looking for upside. DK Metcalf, yes, Washington, they're going to throw a lot more. He's only had one season where he's had a better fantasy points per game finish than 20. So he's not that upside. I don't know how high that upside is. I mean, JSN's going to be there another year. Lockett's still there. They're going to throw the ball more, but it depends the format. I mean, if I'm swinging for upside, I'm probably going to go Nabers because there's an unknown factor. And in my opinion, kind of like Anthony said with Garrett Wilson, like, I don't know, these guys that are good receivers, they find ways to be productive either way. And if you believe in the talent, Nabers, that upside, he was a top 10 pick. I would go upside if I'm in a best ball tournament, and I'd go Nabers. If I'm doing redraft with friends in a home league with 12 teams, I'm probably going Metcalf because when you go in those tournaments, your lineups have to be different. Once you advance to later on, once you get past your 12 teams and then you go and advance to the actual tournament, you need variance and you need upside. But in a league where I'm playing with my buddies and it's 12-man, I'd probably go Metcalf but I'm not playing it safe if I'm in an underdog best ball league. I would go Nabers.
Oh, there's more risk. There's more risk there with Nabers, and plus DK ultra healthy. I mean, he's missed like two games.
That is true.
That is true. So that's solid too. 3,000-yard seasons, 2 double-digit touchdown seasons. So he definitely could. I mean, he's the type of receiver. I think there is some upside left with DK. I think he could go for another 12,
especially in this offense with this new look passing offense.
But I mean, Lockett is there. You do have a JSN. That is true, but it could change up with this new coordinator.
Well, and the quality of the targets, right, Anthony? I figured Anthony was going to say it, but he didn't. But the quality of the targets. You know I mean, he did say he was throwing him the ball, but you didn't phrase quality. I don't know if he said the phrase quality of targets because I feel like he said that a few times at Nabers. Maybe he did. Maybe he did.
I only quote that because I was waiting to hear that from him. So he did say it. So he did say it because I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The quality of the I mean, how much do we see this Giants offense getting into the end zone a ton? How many opportunities is he going to have to score as well? So it's a toss-up. I don't hate Metcalf. I just prefer Nabers if you're looking for upside in best ball. So.
All right. So there you go. That was a fun show. Nice long show. Enjoyed ourselves. Listen, to all the YouTube commenters in there, we appreciate the hell out of you guys. If you guys love the show so much, I'm sure you guys have already subscribed. If you haven't, you might not know that you haven't. Subscribe to the show, like this show in general. Helps us out immensely. And you know what? Grab your mom's phone and subscribe. Tell her you're buying her a belated Mother's Day gift. She won't know the difference.
Actually, that's true. My kids were playing with my mom's phone earlier, so I'm just going to go on there on her YouTube and subscribe to the show as well.
That's it. That's it. It helps us out immensely. Like the show, subscribe. We appreciate the hell of it. Anthony, anything else to say before we ride off into the sunset?
We'll be back Wednesday.
Well, no, Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. Right. Yeah, Thursday this week.
Yeah, just because the schedule releases at 8, so we figure maybe we just do a Thursday show.
And then Friday for our draft.
Schedule. Yeah.
Okay. And I will be in the building on Thursday. Guaranteed this time. You guys can hold me to it, cut my wrist if I don't do it. You guys can drive on over to Long Island and
relax.
Do it. All right, listen. We don't have to go that route. But until next time, yes, William, we'll see you Thursday, sweetheart. So until next time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another. We'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers.